Alright, so here we're going to look at basic salts. Alright, basic salts. So what are basic salts? Basic salts are salts formed when there is an insufficient supply of an acid for the complete neutralization of the base. Basic salts are formed when there is an insufficient supply of an acid for the complete neutralization of the base. Alright, so it's very important that you should know that basic salts contain hydroxide ion. Basic salt contains what? Hydroxide ion, which is the OH ion, and have the properties of a base. For example, a basic salt will turn red litmus blue, alright, as an indication that that salt is an example of what? A base, of a base. So examples of basic salts are barium hydroxide chloride, zinc hydroxide chloride. These are examples of basic salts. Alright. So again, basic salts are salts formed when there is an insufficient supply of an acid for the complete neutralization of a base. Alright. So for instance, when zinc hydroxide, which is a base, alright, when zinc hydroxide, which is a base, reacts with a limited amount of hydrochloric acid, or with an insufficient amount of hydrochloric acid, alright, what will be formed? What will be formed will be zinc hydroxide chloride. Zinc hydroxide chloride and what? And water. Since this is a neutralization reaction. This is a base, this is an acid. The reaction is a neutralization reaction. So you expect salt and water to be formed. Alright. So this salt that is formed from this neutralization reaction is an example of what? A basic salt. And why is it a basic salt? It's a basic salt because it contains the OH ion, alright, the hydroxide ion. So this is an example of a basic salt. Again, basic salts are salts formed when there is an insufficient supply of an acid for the complete neutralization of a base. Alright, so if you react this basic salt again with another molecule of an acid, so if you react this zinc hydroxide chloride with another molecule of hydrochloric acid, then when these react, it will form zinc chloride, alright, plus water. Zinc chloride plus what? Plus water. So this salt that is formed is an example of what? A normal salt. Alright, and this salt that is here, this is an example of a basic salt. Alright, so when you react a base with a limited amount of an acid or with an insufficient amount of acid, a basic salt will be formed. So when zinc hydroxide, which is a base, reacts with hydrochloric acid with an insufficient amount of hydrochloric acid, zinc hydroxide chloride, which is a basic salt, is formed. Alright, and when this basic salt reacts with another molecule of an acid, a normal salt will be formed. Alright, so it's very important that you know what basic salts are. Again, basic salts are salts formed when there is an insufficient supply of an acid for the complete neutralization of a base. Alright, so this reaction is not a complete neutralization reaction. You know why? Because we still have the presence of OH in this salt. Alright, again, basic salts are salts formed when there is an insufficient supply of an acid for the complete neutralization of what? Of a base. And it's very important that you should know that basic salt contains hydroxide ion. So whenever you look at a salt and you see hydroxide ion in that salt is a basic salt. And it will have the properties of a base. For example, it turns red litmus blue. So this base, this salt is going to turn red litmus blue. Why? Because it is a basic salt. It contains the OH group. Alright? It contains the OH ion. Alright? So examples of basic salts again are barium hydroxide chloride, zinc hydroxide chloride. These are examples of basic salts. How you identify them is just look at the salt. When you see the presence of this OH ion here, it tells you that that salt is a basic salt. Alright, so let's look at this question. Which of the following is a basic salt? Which of the following is a basic salt? So we have lead hydroxide chloride, we have sodium hydrogen tetrasulfate 6, we have potassium tetrasulfate 6, and we have potassium chloride. So the basic salt here is option A. Why? Because we have the presence of this OH ion, alright? And that is why it is a basic salt. This is an example of an acid salt. This is an acid salt. Why is it an acid salt? It's an acid salt because it contains hydrogen atom or hydrogen ion. Then this potassium tetrasulfate 6 is an example of a normal salt. This is a normal salt. And this potassium chloride is also an example of a normal salt. All right. So the only basic salt we have here is lead hydroxide chloride. All right. This is an example of a basic salt.